narrative writing samples.zip. So go ahead and open that up in another window right now and make sure that you can download what's in it. What it should do is it should open a folder, and then you click on that folder and you should see several files in that folder. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay. So here's what you're going to do with your group. The first thing you're going to open is the document called Narrative Writing Samples. It's a Word document. The very first sample that you're going to see is a kindergarten sample. Okay? It's a kindergarten sample. Do you want me to pull this up, or can I just talk you through it? Talk you through it? Okay, I'll talk you through it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up the writing samples. The first one you'll see is a kindergarten sample. You'll see a K. If you scroll down, there's a first grade, a third grade, and a fifth grade. They're all, I think there's 4 of them. They're all narrative samples. What you're going to do is you're going to open the scoring guide. The first one you're going to open is the kindergarten one. You're also going to open up the Colorado State Standards page, the one I just showed you a couple of minutes ago. That is posted right below on Canvas. What you're going to do as a group is you're going to be analyzing data. And this is something that you would do in the schools in like a professional development. But what you're essentially going to do is you're going to look at the standards for kindergarten, for narrative, like I showed you. You're going to look at the guide that tells you what you're looking for each of those 6 traits. And then you're going to look at the writing sample. And what I want you to do is, using the sample and using the guide, I want you to say, if you are scoring this piece of writing, you're the kindergarten teacher, and you're looking at your students' writing, what do you notice? How would you score these different traits, these different parts of the writing? Do that independently for about, I don't know, between 5 and 10 minutes. Then as a group, go to the kindergarten sample and talk about, okay, if this was your kindergarten student, what did they do well? Where did they struggle? If you were the kindergarten teacher and you were using the data, which is their writing, and your rubric or your guide, what mini lessons, what would you teach next? Okay, so I want you to basically have a discussion. Pretend you're all kindergarten teachers and you're looking at this piece of writing. Would you score it all the same way, and why? So talk through the data, the writing, and figure out, okay, what would I teach next if I were looking at this particular sample? Okay, you good so far? The next thing you're going to do before you move on to the next sample is you're going to open the document called Narrative Scoring, which is in that folder also. In the narrative scoring, you'll see comments that other teachers, like the kind of the answers, like this is, if when another teacher was looking at it, this is what they thought the writer did well, and maybe what they think that they should work on. And I want you to kind of compare, did your group or did you individually come up with similar things to what the scorer also came up with? Okay. Now I want you to do these one at a time, because you're going to learn from looking at the comments, which will help you with your next writing sample. Okay. So then you'll open up the first grade sample. And you'll open up, and you're going to have to open up the guide for first and second grade, because that's a separate guide. Read through the characteristics. Compare the guide to the first grade sample individually. Then, as a group, what do you notice? If you were a group of first grade teachers, what do you notice? What did they do well? What would you teach? What is the data showing you need to work on? Where is the student on the continuum? Okay. Then go back. Check the answers and see if you came up with kind of the same things that they came up with. Don't cheat, because this is a really good way to practice looking at data. What you're going to end up doing as teachers are having these types of data meetings where you're looking at several samples from students and trying to figure out, what do I need to teach? How do I use their writing to inform my instruction? Okay. You're going to work through the 4 different samples. I'll give you 45 minutes to an hour. When you're finished, I want you to think about, what do you notice about the progression from kindergarten to 5th grade? And I purposely kept that question pretty open-ended, okay? Do you remember we talked about this idea of the spiraling curriculum? Remind us, what's the spiraling curriculum? What do we mean by that?
That everything you do the same thing but extended the amount of deep in the information.
Absolutely. So you keep revisiting the same concept, but it's getting more complex. Okay. So if you start with first, next, last, hopefully by 6th grade or 5th grade, you're at, initially, consequently, you're using more sophisticated temporal words, for example. Okay. I'll leave this slide up. It has all the directions that I just went through step by step. Basically, you're comparing samples to the rubric and the standards. Okay. You're the teacher. You're figuring out, what do you notice? What would you teach? Questions. One thing you might want to do is share it once you're talking about the sample. So do it independently. And then when you're talking as a group, somebody share their screen so you can look at it together. And I think you can actually mark on the screen too. If you go to the toolbar in Zoom, you can circle things and mark things and so forth. Okay. I will pop in from room to room. If I'm not in your room and you need me, you know how to get me. Okay. It's 6:23. I'm going to try to stop you no later than 7:15. Good? Okay.
What up?
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh.
Who wants to share their screen?
I don't think my computer's pulling up the writing samples, or I'm opening the wrong file, because
I can do it.
they're not showing up on my computer.
I have
Thanks.
it printed.
Okay. This is our first one. It's kindergarten. Okay. I can pull up the standard. We went to Disneyland. Went. Colorado. Academic standards online. It's kindergarten and reading, writing. Yeah. Kindergarten. Which standard? Or? And the Colorado State's standard page. Oh, maybe it's my phone, but I can't see. Oh, there we go. I went to Disneyland. Probably Disneyland? Mm-hmm. Went for the desert, probably. Desert? Like desert. I had a fun vacation at Disneyland. I see a lot of rides. He redacted that. I went on the Matterhorn. I went on the farewell Ferris wheel, probably. Mm-hmm. I went on a merry-go-round. And I went on I don't know what that one is. A pole.
A pole.
No, that's the Matterhorn. Yeah, on a pole, maybe. Interesting. So what are we thinking? I mean, I feel like it has pretty decent structure. It could use better fluency, obviously, but like kindergartner.
Yeah.
We have the Rubric here.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
sorry.
looking at like the
We have-
scoring
We
guide.
have, the Rubric or something similar.
Mhm.
Kindergarten writing rubric. And I think we had to compare this test of the kindergarten with this rubric and punctuate the child, so grade the child. For example, in the first one is ideas and is 1 to 4 and is needed help with the topic or may have needed help with topic, create or he create a topic, elaborate with little guidance, ideas are somewhat clear, or created a topic independently. So you have to say, okay, this guide is like one point in idea or two or whatever, and then go to the word choice.
Yeah. I thought for ideas, I thought it was pretty good actually. Like I'd give it a 3 because it has a clear topic and stuff. Like it's about their trip to Disneyland.
Yeah, for a 3, it does answers who did what where. Yeah, that's a 3. I went to Disneyland. I did X, Y, and Z. Okay.
Okay. Word choice is writing has regular words, writing has few interesting nouns, verbs, or describing words, and writing has some interesting nouns, verbs, and describing words, or choice of words paints a picture for the reader, has noun, verb, describing words, and show feelings.
I personally would give it a 1 because it has a lot of regular words and there's no colorful or like describing words used for it.
Yeah, I think it only says like vacation was fun, right? That's like the only.
Yeah, you could have put big ride, small ride. Yeah, it's just like I see rides. Yeah. So I feel like I'd give it a 1.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Convention. 1. Letters are scattered on paper, no evident spacing. No punctuation, no capitalization. 2. Spacing seems random. Letters move left to right. Has one capital or period. 3. Visible space in between words, no space in the middle of words, or has a capital and punctuation. And 4 is all spaces are spaced correctly and evenly, not too big, not too small, has a capital and proper punctuation. Did you understand me when
Yes, yes. I'll say it's a 2. I was kind of thinking that same thing. There are like some things that are capitalized, others that aren't. Spacing is kind of random. Crazy. And then there's some that are without punctuation and others that have punctuation. So,
but he has some, yeah. Perfect. More?
Organization.
I would
like a
feel
2.
This is a 2, yeah.
I don't know though, because it kind of has a clear end, even though he redacted. Like I went to my house. Like, that's kind of like a clear end. Do you know what I mean?
But that's not where he ended it, though.
Well, it is, because if you look at the top, they're two different entries.
No, they're not. They're the same. January 30th, 2002.
Right, but it's two different breaks. You don't start in the middle of like.
No, it's the paper. It's because, have you seen those kindergarten papers where they're so huge?
Yeah.
And so, like, they can only put a few sentences on there. So these are his two papers, or the front and the back together.
Never mind.
It's the same entry, January 30th, 2002.
Okay. I knew it was like the same day, but I didn't know if it was like different.
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like the end is just talking about the rides.
Yeah, I would
If
say
that's
no.
the case. So, yeah, I feel like it would fit in like a 2.
I guess I'll go with like that, because like that's the group thing, but I still think there was kind of a clear ending. Like he attempted, but then like continued.
Yeah, it's like maybe somewhere in between. And it does say for 3 that it's like somewhat clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you could kind of argue for either one.
I feel like the phonetic spelling was pretty good. For the most part, we were able to figure out everything that they were trying to say.
Like a 3.
Mm-hmm. Presentation. Name on the paper. Well, there's no drawings, so I can't really judge based on for that. But there is name and date on the paper, so that'd have to be a 3, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay. We good to move on?
So
Yep.
what did that total up to?
Oh, shoot.
Mm.
What did we decide on for?
It was a 3 for the topic, right?
Right. It was a 1 for that. For like the word choice conventions, what did we say?
2.
It was 2. Organization was
2.
2 or 3.
Phonetic spelling, did we say that was a 3?
Yeah.
I would say that's a 3, yeah. What did you guys think for sight words?
I think most sight words were spelled.
Like C can be a side word. I think well too, like.
So total that to 17.
Okay. And what did the other people say?
How do I find like the answers?
That one was on the narrative scoring stuff.
Scoring. I don't see any numbers that.
I think maybe these are just comments that other teachers had about it.
We can move forward.
I thought we were
Maybe. Okay, it's another document that say kindergarten. The writer of this piece establish a situation by naming a place. That is that are the comment, but it's another.
Yeah, these are comments. I think we're looking for like the scoring, like to see what other.
You're not necessarily looking for the scoring. It's more important that you look at, I didn't mean to scare any of you. It's more important that you look at, well, how did they, what was their comments about what they saw?
Oh. Okay.
So, for example, the teacher said, establish a situation by naming a place, because he said Disneyland. Seems like me.
Oh, it does say on here that they thought that there was a sense of closure with the "I went to my house" thing. So maybe that wasn't like crossed out, like that was part of it.
So probably bump that one up to a 3, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
So then it'd just be 18.
Party.
Okay, now on to first grade.
Yeah. Let me like zoom in a little bit. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Can you guys see that, or is it kind of hard?
I see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I bought a little cotton ball. That's so cute.
Okay.
I went to buy myself a hamster. I was so, oh my God, the hamster's name is Cotton Ball A. I was so excited. I wanted to run all the way there, but I didn't want to get run over. I got a very nervous hamster, but we bought her. Then at night, when my dad came home, he said I was what? I want to say I was his dad, but I don't.
Like it says, he said, I was, is that.
Okay. I was, is that.
I was, is that.
Noise is my hamster. I said my mom said Pabloe.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Probably the Pepto Bismol.
The people
Who
Mean
bought
to her?
this? Okay. The people
who
bought this hamster was Popo men to her.
Probably mean to her.
Yep. I didn't want to return her because she was so soft and cuddly. She felt like a little cotton ball.
Aw.
This is cute. This is cute as hell. Ugh, I love little kids.
Okay. So, ideas.
I noticed that they kind of just put periods like at random places.
Yeah, that they weren't really at the end of a sentence. They were just sort of sometimes at the end of a line.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so
The Rubric. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Here, I'm also gonna share this too. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm like trying to figure this out. Okay.
Perfect.
So this is the first one for grading. So it's writer's continuum ideas.
like the ideas kind of fit at like maybe a 4, like a middle ground. Extending.
I was thinking maybe a 3. Because it seemed a little all over the place.
I guess, yeah, it was all about a hamster, but it was kind of a lot of different things about the hamster, so.
And I just feel like some of it really didn't like make sense. Oops.
He said
Yeah, it did get a little fuzzy.
the teacher
Yeah, so that's why I feel like it's like a 3.
The teacher said establishes the situation with the opening sentence and recounts 2 or more appropriately sequenced events, includes some details regarding what happened.
Okay. Are we good for the next one, organization?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like organization was like a 2.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like they had pizzazz. I felt like that was very, pizzazzy.
Yeah.
I think I would rate it a 3. I think if the spelling was better, it would have added more to the pizzazz, but I think they were trying to do their best with Cotton Ball.
The writer offers a fresh word, interesting image, and or unusual detail here and there, but for the most part, he uses routine language.
Yeah.
I feel like that sounds good to me. Okay. Word choice. Choosing zippy verbs. Just picking just right words. Oh my god, can this not?
He said, use temporal words to signal event order, though the writer does not consider.
Oh, this is also kindergarten too.
Oh, those were both kindergarten?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
No, in my paper, it's first grade.
It is?
I have print and I don't know. I'm gonna take out my.
No, it's kindergarten still.
Wow.
Oops, sorry guys.
No, you're good.
I'll pull up the other grading. I like the other one anyways. So we'll just have to start that over.
You see here is first grade.
This is still under kindergarten.
Maybe when I print the first grade go up. I don't know.
Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so ideas. Needed help with topic. Created a topic, elaborated with little guidance. Ideas were somewhat clear. Can read own sentence. Answers who, did, what, where.
But this writing, I think, is very. It's not for a kindergarten because it's.
Yeah, I'm looking at the teacher scoring thing, and the first grade one is about the hamster.
Mm-hmm. It's because if you compare kindergarten with this one is a lot of difference. Cannot be a kindergarten, this guy.
Okay, so then we were on the right track. That was dumb. Okay. Okay, so far. Where were we on it? We were on
don't
Word
remember.
choice. Word
word
choice.
choice. Okay. Okay. I feel like they use some pretty good verbs because like how or like adjectives and all that kind of stuff because of like how do they describe cotton ball and all of that.
Yeah, like soft and cuddly and
Yeah. He was mean. A very nervous hamster. Yeah, so I feel like they use some pretty good verbs. I feel like I'd call that either a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to go with?
I think that's like a 4 probably is where I would put that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it's not like metaphors or anything.
What did we put for voice and all of that? I can't remember. I'm just re-adding stuff.
3, I think.
3. And then what was the other one? What was organization? I think we
That
called
was
that.
like a 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty low.
And then this was a 3 or 4.
I think we said
3.
Yes,
3.
3. Okay. Okay, next one is sentence fluency. That was a mess, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call. I don't know.
I don't think it was quite emergent, but maybe like a 2 or a 3.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
Because not
I
all
think
Yeah.
it's 2.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say 2.
Okay.
And the teacher say demonstrate growing command of the conventions of standard writing English.
So what do we grade conventions?
Growing.
That was pretty low, I'd say.
I think so too. Basic grammar, punctuation, capitalization. I'm gonna say I feel like it's like a 1.
Yeah, just because of the periods and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think 1 is like, isn't that like not like you don't have any idea what you're writing? Like,
Yeah.
like the example that they have the just like random characters.
The teacher said there is some evidence in this piece that the writer understands various use of capital letters. Frequently, sentences begin with a capital letter and the pronoun is consistently capitalized. However, with the exception of the pronoun I, there are no capital letters in the title. Periods end some sentence, but not all, and sometimes are introduced in unconventional places.
So maybe 2.
Yeah, I'd say 2. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, they like know what a period, like they're still using, I guess, conventions and stuff.
Right. Okay, presentation. Forming letters correctly, printing words neatly, putting spaces between letters, and turning in tidy final piece. Oh my god, can I stop doing that, please?
My daughter is in fourth grade and wrote worse than this child.
I think their writing formation is really good, and their letters and spacing and all of that is really good.
I feel like it looks like pretty professional and stuff.
Yeah, I
For,
feel like
like,
I
a
would call
first
that a
grader.
6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our total score is 22.
Gosh.
Okay, third grade.
Awesome. Are we going all the way to 6th grade?
I think we'll probably run out of time before we go that far.
Okay. I'm just like.
Yeah, we can talk when she
Me
comes. How was your week? Well, I spent all day yesterday and Saturday with the cover letter. For me, it was very difficult to do that.
Oh, the cover letter?
Oh yeah, I do with a Spanish position in a preschool, and it's terrible. But I finished.
When my puppies ran away one night, when the air was warm, my puppies were sleeping on the back porch. Me and my sisters were getting ready for bed. When I was in bed, I read a chapter from my Nancy Drew book. When I finished the chapter, I turned out my lamp and I wouldn't go to sleep. I went into the living room. I saw my mom getting ready to walk out the door. I asked, "Where are you going?" "Just for a drive," she replied. She had a worried expression on her face. I knew something was wrong. I thought maybe if I went outside and played with my puppy, I would forget about my mom's worried expression and go to sleep. When I opened the back door, I expected my puppies Maggie and Tucker to jump on me. They didn't come at all. I called, they still didn't come. Now I knew something was wrong. I went and woke up my dad. He said my mom's got it under control. I thought mom had taken them to the vet because something was really wrong. Dad wouldn't tell me anything else. I went to my room and cried. That's all I remembered about that.
I think does it keep going?
No. Oh, wait. All I remembered about that night. But I hate this. Why is there a third grade in the middle of this shit?
It's in yours because in mine is at the top.
Because I fell asleep the next day. I still worried. I worried all through school. When I got home from me and my mom made a snack for my sisters. I asked my mom, "So where are the puppies?" Her eyesight filled with tears, and she answered my question with 3 words. "I don't know." She burst into tears, and so did I. She hugged me. "If we never find them, I am sure they will have a good home." I went outside and sat in my mom's rocking chair. I cried some more. Mom came out. I got up. She sat down and motioned me by waving her hand for me to come sit on her lap. I went over and cried on her shoulder. After dinner that night, we went looking for them. We couldn't find them at all. My dad, after work each day, went to the pound to see if they had picked them up. They didn't at all. I've got over them leaving because my mom says we can get 2 new puppies very soon. Well then, okay. One of the biggest things I see is their order, their sentence order is like not in order, if that makes sense. So like we were getting ready for bed, like this whole sentence right here is like the puppies ran away one night when the air was warm, my puppies were sleeping on the back porch. Like that's like out of like order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Ideas.
The teacher said, organize an event sequence that unfold naturally and use temporal words and phrases to signal event order. And she said that he used when and now.
Okay, so how would we rate the ideas?
I'd say it's a 3.
He said establishes a situation and introduces the narrator.
Really? I was kind of thinking it was more of a 5 because I felt like it established a really good idea.
I'm good with that.
I thought it was pretty good.
What's like your reasoning for 3, Joy?
I don't have the rubric in front of me, so I thought that a 5 was at a much higher caliber. Like, I thought, honestly, I feel like the 5s and almost the 4s are like they're approaching the next grade. And I definitely see this as a 3rd grader, not necessarily like as a 3rd grader approaching the 4th grade. But I'm down with the majority, honestly.
I don't know.
I thought it was like a 5 only because like the theme was like really clear and he stuck with the storyline.
Yeah, we can give it a 5.
And then just like, yeah. Does everyone think 5 or like?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
For
Okay.
5,
Yep.
we can say for 5.
Okay. Organization.
I feel like maybe that is like a 3 or a 4.
That's what I was thinking, only because like the sequence of like sentences and things like weren't exactly in order, but like
Yeah. Yeah, but it had like a good like beginning and like middle and end. So yeah, I'd think like 3 or 4.
okay. Voice.
I feel like that is also like a 3 or a 4.
Use
I
the
feel like they express feeling
Yeah.
pretty well. And like
uses dialogue and description of characters, actions, thoughts, and feelings to develop experience and events or show the response of characters to situation.
Okay. Word choice.
4. Or, yeah, 3.5.
I feel like I agree with 4. Sentence fluency. I kind of think the sentence fluency was like a 3.
yeah, I was thinking that too.
Conventions, checking spelling and punctuation.
I thought that was like pretty good. I didn't notice any like
Yeah.
a lot of major mistakes or anything.
Yeah, same. So would we call that a 4 or 5 or?
Maybe like a 5.
I would think that's a 5.
They like use like quotations and stuff pretty good too.
Presentation.
In convention, the teacher said demonstrates growing command of the conventions of standard writing English with occasional errors that do not interfere materially with the underlying message.
I thought the presentation was good too. So what do you guys want to rate that one?
I would say that was probably a 5 too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a 29. Oh.
Whoa.
Very short, but no.
Getting shot and living through it. Does this illustration go with this, do you think?
Yes.
I think
It
so. That was
does.
just
It's like the
page.
title, like cover, whatever page.
Okay. Does anybody else want to read this? Because I'm kind of tired of reading all of these.
I can read it. We were in the darkness-filled mountaintop, cold waiting room. We were preparing for the shots of our lives, getting shots for malaria and more. There were many benches, all shoved to the right. It was hard to see the color in the murky dark, but it seemed to be some sort of faded brown. The room was big, no huge, which gave it all the more reason to be terror-bringing. It's so difficult with the different, like, how light and dark it's messing with me. Who knew? No, it's not your computer. It's this copy of this writing. Who knew what would be
Lurking
in the corner? Rats, monsters, anything. There were also doors, 3 doors, which were also brown and also faded. One was the way in, not the way out, unfortunately. Another was the way to the other evil places, with the evil hallway and the evil office. The last door was the most evil, the shot room. The rest of the room was filled with families, including my family of 5. My 5-year-old self, my 3-year-old brother, my 1-year-old sister. Then there was my mom and dad. Some of the other children were screeching or crying or not knowing what would happen to them, so they would just be playing. I was in the middle of both. I was playing with fear, playing knowing what would happen, knowing that the worst moment of my life was coming ever closer. It was like knowing you would be put to sleep, sent to the Dementors, waiting to take ride in the electric chair. This is how I feel about shots too. I had shots before. They were not your best friend. After a long while, a nurse said, "Alyssa, Trevor, and Taryn, your turn." It was our turn. I got half dragged and I half walked. The door creaked open. It was the room of no return. The door slammed shut. There was no way out. Grown-ups guarding every outer way, making sure we couldn't escape. Seeing there was no way out, we gave up and went for it. Trevor went first. Before the shot was even touching him, he was already howling. When it did hit him, he was yelling loud enough to deafen you. He was done. Then it was my turn. He was still crying, so the nurse tried to calm him down. I was paralyzed with fear. I was death defied. I was scared. My mom and dad told me, just be brave. Just be brave? How could I just be brave? But I had no time to think. It was coming. Just waiting to pounce, just waiting to penetrate my skin. I saw why Trevor had screamed so loud. I couldn't hear anything. I could just see it coming closer, closer. It touched, entered my flesh, and fulfilled to its job. I started with a whimper, but then, boom!
Phil Blast Cry?
I don't know what that says. When Taryn had her turn, she didn't even notice. She was supposed to cry the most, worse than Trevor. But then I remembered it was over. We opened the door, and the sparkling sun blinded our eyes. It was over. All over. Finally. Damn. I'm crying.
That's kind of good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I literally, this picture is so funny.
Uh-huh.
I literally thought this was about like being shot by like a gun or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, it's the needles.
Okay. The conveying of ideas.
5.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay. The organization.
I feel like that one's also a 5. I thought this one was organized pretty well.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Voice. Establishing tone. Conveying the purpose. Creating a connection.
I thought they did good on that. Like a 5 or 6.
Yeah,
They definitely had like a lot of voice.
I feel like a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word choice.
I was definitely say it's a. I was gonna say it's a 4 because I can tell he's trying to put some pizzazz, but it's misplaced. Like some of the descriptor words or things that he tried to say, like I was death defied. Death defying means that you actively go and do something that is dangerous. He doesn't want to get a shot. So it's like, I see what you're trying to say, but you're not utilizing it correctly. And so I think the word choice is more of a 4 than a 5 or 6.
The teacher
Right.
said use concrete words and phrases and sensory details to convey experience and events precisely.
Yeah.
Okay, so like a 4.
Yeah.
I think so.
I would agree with that. I didn't mean to scare you, but I'm looking at the selecting specific words and phrases. Like he is striving to sort of reach these, to use these like big words. He misses, or she misses just a tiny bit in terms of like the usage. But you can definitely see the effort is there.
Yep.
So I would agree with that.
Sentence fluency.
I would also say a 4 because again, I see what you're going for, but then there's like some long sentences and some short sentences, like when they said, I don't remember the names, but Low, Lurie, and Curly, it's time to go take your shot. It was now time to take our shot. Like yes.
Oh, yeah, and there was the thing where it was like, and also the room was big, and also it was this, and also it was
Oh
like,
my gosh, the word also.
repetitive.
Right. Okay, conventions.
Demonstrate good command of the conventions of standard writing English with occasional errors that do not interfere. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they did a pretty good job overall.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'd give that another 5.
Yeah.
Presentation.
It's good.
That was a 10.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like a 6. I know. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it capped at 6. My bad.
They got 4 of 35.
Awesome. They're a great student.
Yay.
Good work.
Yeah.
That last one took me out. That was drama. Drama. You hear me? Oh. Does anyone want to work in a middle school?
No.
Which one?
Miguel, esto que me han mandado,
No, I'm
que la
not saying
apunte
that as
yo.
like, oh, there's a job. I'm just saying like, in general.
No, I'm like a first grade, second grade kind of gal.
Oh, yo no tengo ni idea de eso.
Yeah.
I could teach middle school math, but
Ya, bueno, no sé.
I also am starting
Toma
to
mi
like younger
teléfono.
grades too, so I don't know anymore.
That's how I felt. I was like, yeah, I could do this job at a middle school. I wish I had done it at an elementary school because at least they're cute.
Pero aquí,
Yeah.
a ver.
Like I had a kid,
3-5
he threw a
Fitness Club,
chair in
¿no?
my
Eso.
principal's office today. So
That makes sense, yeah.
I'm like, I'm exhausted.
I feel like at least when they're like
Toma.
7, you're like, okay, maybe you don't know that you're not supposed to do that yet. But like once you're that old, you're like, come on, bro. Like really?
Like we were in the lunchroom and a student stole another student's like.
Well, I'm glad you got to do some active hands-on learning. You can bring the. Okay. So some active hands-on learning. This is very similar to what you might be doing with your grade level team members as you look at all sorts of content and writing that's been produced. Okay. So let me start by asking, first of all, was this helpful? As you think about your work as a teacher, okay. So when we keep saying that assessment drives instruction, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about comparing what our outcomes are to the student data and deciding how we need to differentiate instruction. Now, let's say you had 20 samples from all your kindergartners. Depending on what you saw in the writing samples, you would then create groups so that you could differentiate instruction. You may have students where you're like, okay, they are more than proficient, they're excelling. I need to start looking at the first grade standards and pushing them further. You may have kids that are very low in terms of their achievement at this point across the board. And then you need to sort of pick and choose what are the most important things that I teach. So when we talk about differentiating instruction and using the data to make these informed decisions, this is exactly what we're talking about. So let me ask you this. What was hard about this?
I thought it was hard to like I guess grade fairly on where their grade level is at. Because sometimes like I was like, oh, they're only in kindergarten, so I don't want to be too harsh on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how many of you felt the same way as Zoe? Like you're not real sure yet what third grade writing is supposed to look like. So one thing I will tell you is when you have a range of samples, it's a little bit easier because you have a greater sample pool to look at. But also, if you've been teaching third grade for 5 years or whatever, you kind of start to get a sense of what the exemplars look like. And something that's really helpful. So here's a book that I often use. Like this is a benchmark book, and it'll show you some examples of so it has some of the same things that you were just looking at, but it'll show you like, hey, this is what a typical kindergarten thing might look like. It'll give you some kind of mentor text for what is considered proficient or what is considered advanced. So there are lots of resources similar to this. You can find them on the internet for free as well. But you can start looking at mentor text of like, what is it that is like expected? Okay, so that's something that will come with experience and with, as you get to see more examples in that age level. What else was difficult?
I think what we struggled with a little bit was like actually figuring out like what score to give them, because there were some aspects where they were like in the lower range, but like they could be like mostly up higher, you know what I mean? So whether you like thought to give them like a 1 or like a 3 or a 2, I feel like that was a little bit hard.
Yeah, I always think the quantitative piece is really difficult, like assigning a number. What your school may have something that is a little bit more specific. So there's like, could be like a checklist. It could be that they fall within a certain range, whether it's a 1 or a 2, they're, you know, not proficient, whether it's a 3 or a 4, it doesn't really matter. If they're a 3 or a 4, they're in that like proficient range. So that's the kind of thing where over time with some practice, you can sort of make the justification for like, this is how I would score it and why. But yes, that takes some practice. And again, I've sat with teachers before and there'd be 5 of us and 3 of us would have them scored, you know, the paper scored at one level and the other 2 would be scored at another level. So there is some problem with what we call inter-rater reliability. Basically meaning that I would score it the same way that you would score it, the same way that the other person would score it. Okay. What else was challenging? How well, okay, let me ask you this. How closely did your scores or your feedback mirror the ones that were the answers?
I feel like
Go ahead, Morgan.
I feel like we weren't really too far off of it. And especially like the more that we like went through it and like each example, we got more of a hang of how to like, you know, do everything.
Exactly. And that was only 4 examples. So imagine if you are teaching the same grade level and you're seeing the same thing over and over again. Of the 6 traits, was there one that was more difficult to score than others or one that was easier than others?
I think the kindergartens.
I thought spacing, or I don't know what the actual name of it is.
The conventions? Are you talking
Yeah.
about the
I thought conventions was easy to score because it was just like visually you could look at it and be like, is spacing right? Like, are they like putting letters? Is there capitals? Is there periods? It was like really easy just like visually like look at it and be like, okay, they have these things.
Yeah, the editing piece, the capitalization, the punctuation, the spacing, all that is a lot easier because it's either right or it's wrong. And maybe as a school, you know, you decide, oh, if the student has, you know, 80% or higher is correct, you know, there's, you know, then that's considered proficient. So editing tends to be the easiest one to score because it is not quite as subjective. Which one of the traits was hardest?
I thought spelling was hard.
Why?
Because it was like the difference between phonetic spelling and sight word spelling. Like there's 2 categories, so you really have to look at like how things are spelled. And there's like, is this spelled phonetically? Is this not? So just like takes like a lot more effort to look into.
So one thing that will make it easier as you get more experienced is you'll kind of know what are the no excuse words for each grade level. So like a kindergartner should be able to spell most 1 and 2 letter words like I, we, he, me, my, probably the, like real basic. I'm sorry, this puppy is like. And then as you get to the older grades, each grade level has what they call like a no excuse list, where these are the words that are must spell correctly. And then the rest, we don't want to penalize students for their word choice if they're not spelling it correctly. So when the boy in the 5th grade wrote something about death defying, I think he spelled it pretty wrong, or it was somewhat wrong. We don't want to penalize him for taking a risk on a word choice that is more sophisticated. Other thoughts about the fluency piece? What else was hard? The fluency, the organization. What did you think about the other traits?
We kind of had the most discussions about like deciding how to grade their ideas, because I feel like that was kind of like maybe a little bit more subjective to like what you think, and so that is what I think we ended up discussing the most in our group.
Okay, fair enough. And I think that is subjective, and again, that will come with looking at exemplars, which are, you know, mentor texts. And then having these conversations with teammates, having conversations with other 3rd grade teachers and saying, this is what I think is a good idea. What do you think? Again, when you have 24 or 25 other samples to compare it to, you start to sort of have apples to apples and you can better judgment calls. What is something that you noticed K-5? And again, I purposefully left this question very open-ended.
I would say the level of difficulty, like, or the level of details, like each text contained, and also like you could tell like the knowledge the student possess about the content or what they were sharing.
Okay, so you're saying the level of sophistication really improved. Yeah. So when you look at the fact that you're certified as a K teacher and a 6th grade, which I didn't even give you 6th grade, that's a huge range in terms of the skills you're going to teach, the knowledge you need to have as a teacher. And maybe when you start looking at sort of the content and the writing at each level, or content in general, you start to get a better sense of like, I want to work with beginning writers, or I want to work with, creating more sophisticated writers. So something to kind of think about as you're spending time in classrooms of different ages. There is so much growth that happens from a 5-year-old to an 11-year-old. It's pretty astonishing. Any other thoughts in general about this experience and what you noticed or what you learned about yourself as a teacher?
I feel like I'm gonna be like way too nice as a teacher, because whenever I read these, I was like, okay, that was really good, and that was really good, and that was really good. And so for me, I think it's gonna be harder to come up with like, you need to work on this, this, and this, as opposed to most of my comments are just gonna be compliments, I think.
And I think that's okay. I mean, one of the things we want to make sure that we do with students is we should tell them all the things that they've done well. And then you have to prioritize. Okay, there's 3 things I want this kid to work on. I'm going to pick one that's the most pressing, and I'm going to scaffold and support them. So I don't believe there's such a thing as being too nice. It's not a question of nice or not nice. You're just going to really help them meet that standard. Questions at all in general about narrative text? I do only spend one night on this because you've gotten so much of this through high school, and you're very familiar with narrative text, and you are going to see it in your practicum and in the school. So any questions in general? Okay. If there are no questions, it is 7:30. Make sure if you haven't finished your cover letter that you do that tonight, and I will see you next week. Thank you.